All right, good morning, folks. This is our third video on close reading Shakespeare. This is on something that we call mid-stops, and it's kind of the opposite of a full stop. So full stops, you may remember if you watched the video from 2 seconds ago, that is what we are marking with all the B's. When you have a full stop, it means that you have a period or exclamation points at the end of a line. What that signals is that you take sort of a full breath before moving on to the next line. We talked about this dramatic ending where we have 3 lines, but 1 long pause after each line. A mid-stop answers this question. So you may be wondering at this point, what do you do with all the periods, question marks, and exclamation points that come in the middle of a line? That is a good question. These are called mid-stops, and they function very differently from full stops. So I'm going to pull up this exact same passage, and the question is, where do the mid-stops come? I say here, put an M for move in the middle of the line wherever there's a period, question mark, or exclamation point. So we have none for a long while. And then we have our very first mid-stop right here. So because we have a period in the middle of that line. And then we have another period in the middle of this line. We have a mid-stop here. I'm sorry that I write like a second grader, but this cursor is not very convenient. And then we have another mid-stop. So that's 3 mid-stops on 3 lines in a row. And then we have another mid-stop. So all kinds of mid-stops. I wonder if Shakespeare is doing something like that on purpose. Spoiler alert, he is. So here's what it should look like in the end: mid-stop, 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 and then we have a bunch of full stops as well. What is the point of a mid-stop? So when a mid-stop occurs, when Shakespeare was putting that in the middle of the line, what he was saying is that this is kind of the opposite of a full stop, and that this is to add a jolt of momentum to your speech here. Imagine that the actor is like drinking a can of Red Bull in the middle of a line. The other metaphor that I sometimes like to use, if anyone ever had those Hot Wheels cards when they were little, where you would send them racing around the track, and then they would hit that little speed boost and sort of zoom ahead a little bit faster. Maybe you have no idea what I'm talking about, and I sound like a crazy person. That is okay. The point of a mid-stop, though, is it adds a jolt of momentum to a speech. So one question that I want to ask you guys here is, what do you notice about the placement of mid-stops in this speech? And one thing that you will notice, if you have not noticed them already, is they all come basically in the same place. They all come in the middle of this long passage. So here's what is happening in this long passage. Lady Macbeth is saying, "Your face, my thane, is as a book where men may read strange matters." She's basically saying, people can see what you're thinking, Macbeth, and you look awfully suspicious. And then she goes to beguile the time, look like the time, bear welcome in your eye, your hand, your tongue, look like the innocent flower, but be the serpent under it. In other words, Macbeth is saying, or Lady Macbeth is saying, Macbeth, you look too suspicious. You look like someone who's about to kill a guy. You need to learn a thing or two about tricking people, right? You need to learn a thing or two about disguising your true intentions, pretending that you are a good man and being an evil man underneath. And then in this next part where she goes, "He that's coming must be provided for, and you shall put this night's great business into my dispatch, which shall to all our days and nights to come give solely sovereign sway and masterdom." She's basically saying, leave this all to me, right? You shall put this night's great business into my dispatch. In other words, trust me, I got this. I can handle the murdering stuff. Part of the reason that she does not stop at any point in this speech, as I mentioned in the other video, is that she's getting very excited and planning this whole murder. When people plan murders, I guess I should say, full disclosure, I have never planned a murder, so I don't exactly know what it's like. But Lady Macbeth is not planning a murder in a very ho-hum, boring way. She's getting excited just at the thought of it because she's a crazy person. So when she says something like, "Your face, my thane, is as a book where men may read strange matters. To beguile the time, look like the time. Bear welcome in your eye, your hand, your tongue. Look like the innocent flower, but be the serpent under it." Each one of those is signaling, each one of these mid-stops is signaling, say the next thing if you are the actress with a little bit more emphasis. In other words, as Lady Macbeth moves through this speech, she is getting more and more forceful and excited. And part of the reason she is doing this in this speech is because she has some convincing to do. Macbeth does not totally want to kill this guy yet, and Lady Macbeth is like, I gotta make it happen, and I gotta get Macbeth excited about the prospect of murdering someone. So this is the big difference between full stops and mid-stops. If you have a full stop, it means stop and think and ponder after it. If you have a mid-stop, it means the opposite. It means add a little burst of momentum to the next part. Thanks, guys.